Cheerful greetings, children. Welcome back to the English class. Today we can study chapter 12. It's a poem. The name of the poem is The Fountain. What is the name of the poem? The Fountain. Written by James Russell Lowell. Who is the author of the poem? James Russell Lowell. So now let me say you something about the poet. James Russell Lowell was born on 1819 and lived up to 1891. He was an American romantic poet, editor, critic and diplomat. Okay, so many fields he was famous in. He was associated with certain poets and a group of New England writers who were among the first American poets who revealed the popularity of British poets. He is known for his works such as A Fable for Critics, The Biglow Papers, and The First Snowfall. These are some of his famous works. Now we can move to the poem, The Fountain. So what is meant by fountain? Yes, fountain means lake from which one or more jets of water are pumped into the air. Just water has been pumped out. You can just look into the picture which is given in page number 85. There is a fountain given there very clearly. Okay. So through this poem, the poet brings forth the dual nature of the fountain. Fountain is having dual nature. Okay. So what are the dual nature of the fountain? We can say the fountain is always moving. Okay, it's having dual nature. That means two nature it is having. One is always moving. We can say always it has been moving. But at the same time constant also. Constant means happening repeatedly. It is repeatedly happening. One is always moving. The other one is same time it is constant. That means repeatedly that action is taking place. That is the dual nature of a fountain. Okay. Now we can just see what the poet is saying about the poem. The speaker is very excited. The fountain inspires him to achieve his highest goal in life. Okay. The speaker or the poet is inspired very much to achieve his goal. He wishes to be happy and cheerful in all situations of life, just like the fountain. The poet is just wishing to be happy and cheerful in all situations like the fountain. The fountain doesn't have any tension. It is free-minded, likewise and always happy also. So like that, in the same way, the poet also would like to be. So now we will see what he is saying about the fountain in this poem. Into the sunshine, full of the light, leaping and flashing from morn till night. How the fountain looks like in the sunshine. So when the sun is shining, how the fountain looks like? It's full of light. Okay, leaping and flashing. Leaping means jumping high and flashing the water from morn till night. Morn means morning. From morning till night, it is jumping very high and flashing the water. Into the moonlight, whiter than snow, weaving so flower-like when the winds blow. In the second stanza, the poet is just saying how the fountain looks when it is in the moonlight. Okay, how the fountain looks in the moonlight, that is during night time. It is whiter than snow. The fountain is whiter than snow. And weaving so flower-like, just moving like a flower when the wind blows. When the wind is blowing, it is also moving like a flower. Here, the poet compares water with the snow and flower. Okay. And in the first stanza, it seems to shine more brighter in the light. The second stanza, it is compared. There is a comparison done towards snow and flower. Now let's move to the third stanza. Into the starlight, rushing in spray, happy at midnight, happy by day. How the fountain looks like in the starlight. When there is starlight, how the fountain looks like. How does it looks like? Rushing in spray. Spray means very small drops of liquid. We just spray painting, do painting using spray. That's only called as spray. Very small drops of liquid just come out. That's only called as spray. In the in the starlight, the fountain looks like rushing in spray. Happy at midnight, happy by day. It is happy at the night as well as at daytime. So now the poet has compared fountain 3 times. One is during sunshine, the other one is during moonlight, third one is during starlight. Ever in motion, blithesome and cheery, still climbing heavenward, never a weary. Here, ever in motion, all the time in motion, moving direction only it is. Blithesome and cheery, light-hearted and cheery, happy. Okay, still climbing heavenwards. Still climbing heavenwards, never a weary. Heavenwards, the water keeps flowing upward so that it lives to the top. Okay, it is just climbing to the top, overflowing towards the heaven. That means his attitude or achievement should be very high. Never a weary. A weary means very tired. The fountain is not at all tired. In the last stanza, we have seen that fountain is never a weary. It's not tired at all. Glad of all weathers, still seeming best, upward or downward, motion thy rest. Okay, glad means happy. Whatever is the weather condition, it's always happy. The fountain is always happy. It seems to do its best level, upward or downward. When it is moving upward, it is giving its complete pressure and moving upward. As well as when it is coming downwards also, it's giving complete pressure and coming down. That means it is completely working out to the full strength. Motion thy rest. It finds rest and happiness in that. Okay. Finally, it would like to take rest. That means it finds happiness in doing its work. That is, fountain finds very happy in doing its work. Full of a nature nothing can tame, changed every moment, ever the same. Here, full of a nature. Fountain is a part of nature. What is fountain? It is a part of nature. Nothing can tame. Tame means easily control or stop or change the direction. Nothing can stop the fountain because it's a part of a nature. Changed every moment. That means its direction changed upward and downward. Other than that, it cannot change the direction. Ever the same. Water flows in the same ratio. That's only ever the same. So, it looks similar. Okay, since the ratio of the water flowing downward as well as upward is same, it is ever the same. All the time it is same. Now let's move to the next stanza. Ceaseless aspiring, ceaseless aspiring, ceaseless content, darkness or sunshine, thy element. So what is here said? Ceaseless. Ceaseless means no end. There is no end for its aspiration. No end for the content. So content here is happy and satisfaction. Okay. Aspiration means, aspiring means the work which it is doing, flowing upward and downward. There is no end for that. And there is no end for its happiness as well as satisfaction. Thy element. So whatever may be the element, whether it is darkness or sunshine, day or night, it is continuously doing its work. There is no rest for it. Glorious fountain, let my heart be fresh, changeful, constant, upward like thee. Okay, so finally the poet is just saying, glorious fountain. How is he appreciating the fountain? Glorious. Glorious means very beautiful fountain. Like that, my heart, the poet's heart also should be fresh, changeful, constant, upward like thee. Like the fountain. Thee here means you. Like the fountain, the poet's heart also should always be fresh, changeful, constant, upward. Always be satisfied and happy. So our mind, our hearts also, always let it be filled with happiness. Now we can learn the new words and their meanings. Aweary. Aweary means very tired. Next one, blithesome. Blithesome means light-hearted. Blithesome, light-hearted. Ceaseless. Something to have no end. Ceaseless, something to have no end, or seeming to have no end. Next one, constant. Constant means happening repeatedly. Happening repeatedly. Glorious, very beautiful. Glorious means very beautiful. Next one, inspire. Inspire, to give somebody confidence to do something. Inspire, to give somebody confidence to do something. Next one, leaping. Jumping high or long. Leaping means jumping high or long. Next one, spray. Very small drops of liquid sent through air. Spray, very small drops of liquid sent through air. Next one, tame. To make something easily controllable. Tame, to make something easily controllable. Now we can study the grammar part of this chapter, that is active and passive voice. Okay, change of voice in interrogative sentence. So when we have interrogative sentence, how do we change active to passive voice? That's what we are going to study now. When we change an interrogative sentence into passive voice, we retain the interrogative form. When we are changing from active to passive, passive also should be in the interrogative form only. Okay. And one more thing is there. Already I told you last class when we were discussing about active passive voice. In the passive voice always we are using V3 form. V3 form is always used. Interrogative sentence, if it is yes or no question, that means to the question, if we are getting yes or no as the answer, the question form can begin with the helping words. Okay, that is only called as yes or no questions always begin with the helping verbs. Example, you see, is, are, have, has, etc. These are all helping words. So we can begin with the helping words when we are changing that to passive voice. Here there are few examples. We can just look into the example. Do you know her? It's a active voice. Okay, do you know her means we get the answer automatically yes or no. Such type of questions only we call it as yes or no questions. So, when we are changing that to passive voice, we have to change it in the form of a question. But the main verb in it, we have to use V3 form. Okay. The passive voice is likewise, is she known to you? Is the helping verb. We begin with the helping verb as well as structured in the question form only. Okay. Another one more example. Are you writing a letter? Are you writing a letter? It is a yes or no question. So, we have to begin with a helping verb as well as V3 form should be written. Is a letter being written by you? Is a letter being written by you? Write is V1 form. Write, wrote, written. Write is V1, wrote is V2, written is V3 form. Okay. Next example. Have you seen him? Here also we get yes or no answer. That is an active word. Has he been seen by you? Okay. So, we are beginning with a helping verb as well as we have to use V3 form. Will she buy a dress? Will she buy a dress? It is a active voice. Just change that to passive voice. We have to use helping verb as well as V3 form. Will a dress be bought by her? Already the structure of active and passive voice is taught in the earlier class. So, go through that very clearly and change the sentences from active voice to passive voice. Practice it very clearly. I hope the chapter is clear. Work out the exercises, that is grammar part, several times. See you children in the next class.